Hi, my name's Ryan Diemisi. I work at Christian Wealth Management as a wealth advisor, and my goal is to help people redeem their money as a tool to build their faith. This is my friend Sam. He makes fun of me all the time, so
There we go.
and you're about to experience some of that. But Sam, I don't just are you open to sharing why we know each other?
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Sam. I work in business development for a PEO. So we help small business owners run their company by streamlining the way that they process payroll, and the different employee benefits that they provide, like health and dental and vision. And then we do things like 401k, and stuff like that. So Ryan and I met 2019,
2020. Yep.
2020.
I think I
Uh,
had known about you before then. I had seen you at church.
yeah, we met through church. And what do you want me to share about how we
Yeah,
met?
you can be as honest as
Yeah,
possible.
we met. Ryan and I both were going through a hard time in life. We had both freshly been divorced and kind of leaned on one another on how to navigate
Hmm.
uh, that time.
Yeah, there's actually a friend from another church, Rob, who told me I
Oh
was
yeah,
telling
that's
him
right.
that
I forgot about
I
that.
was going through a divorce, and he was like, "Oh, there's somebody at your church that just or had went through one too that you should connect with." And he said Sam. It's like, "Oh, I know Sam." And then I just one Sunday, I think I just approached you
Yeah,
asking
and
if
then
you.
we went to coffee, and
Hmm.
the rest is kind of history. And then we started leading worship together,
Yeah,
which
because you started singing on the worship team.
I did.
So I was already playing drums, but then apparently you were a Ariana Grande hidden under the surface.
Yeah,
And so, and then you met Taylor, your wife,
yep.
in 20.
2020. Well, we met in 2019. Honestly, is like probably when I met her for the first time, but we didn't start dating until 2021.
Okay. And she actually asked you out, right?
No, 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 no. Don't listen to him.
I'm pretty
She
sure that's what I've heard.
No, she did reach out to me and ask if there would be any interest in like getting together for coffee or something like that.
Hmm.
I asked her out on the first date. So I guess she did
Hmm.
initiate. Um, but the way that you put it made it sound far more.
And Taylor's been on the worship team for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I think if I remember right, you guys led worship for something together. Or she
Like
maybe
how we met, kind
or
of?
how because after you guys went to like a young adults camp,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's when she
Yeah.
had
She
reached out.
was leading worship at a young adults camp. This was far after we had met, but it was kind of what sparked the relationship. Yeah, was
Yeah.
we went, and I was leading young adults at the time, and I was
Mm,
like, man, this girl's
okay.
this girl's awesome.
So okay, that kind of makes sense. So you were leading, you weren't doing worship, you were just a young
Mm-mm.
adult leader, but
No.
she came to
This was before I
facilitate
led
worship.
worship. Yeah,
Okay. And then um you guys got married in 2023? I don't know.
2022,
2022.
August of 22.
And then you have how many kids?
We have one, um, that's currently outside of the womb. She's 1.5, little over 1.5.
Hmm.
And then we have twins on the way
Awesome.
that are due. Really, they could be due anytime. We're hoping that we've got another 5 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. It's pretty exciting. How you feeling about having twins?
Feel good. Yeah, I feel good. Of course, I don't know, I feel like anytime you have any child, there's like these like
Mhm.
nerves or jitters about like what change that's going to bring, whether it's your first or your second or your third. And then I think adding the fact that we're going from 1 to 3 probably adds a little bit more
Yeah.
nerves, on
Mhm.
what that transition is going to look like. Of course, there's excitement though.
Yeah.
I'm getting to the point now in Tay's pregnancy where I'm really, getting really
Mm.
excited for him to be here and meet him and see what they
Mm.
look like and, all
And
that
it's
fun stuff.
one boy and one girl,
Yep. One of
which
each,
that's
one boy, one girl.
super cool
Yep.
too. So maybe 2 months ago, I was doing a fair amount of research around like the benefits and consequences of having kids. And I remember just looking up like a simple Google search, what's the number one reason people don't have kids or concerned about having kids? And it was financial.
Sure. That makes
So
sense.
I just wonder how much of you're going from 1 to 3.
Sure.
How much is the financial piece a concern?
It's definitely a thought. It's been an interesting journey because when you go from 1 to 3, there's a lot of logistical changes that take place, you know? I mean, instantly, we probably jumped to some extremes, but we were like, all right, Tay, you're done working, you know, you're going to stay at home. And then we reeled it back and we're like, you know, do I need to stop working? Can I work part-time? Whatever. But all of this has financial implication, right? That's why I bring it up. But all of these logistics, you know, we needed to change vehicles. We didn't have a vehicle that could fit 3 children in car seats. We thought about changing homes. So yeah, there was a lot of things swirling about finances. And of course, the concern comes like daycare, you know. My wife's a social worker, so, you know, she's not bringing home tons and tons and tons of money. And so you have to weigh the cost of daycare versus her income and like what makes sense, you know, like how much more does she need to make than what our daycare expenses is to justify her being away from the kids all day and you know, and so all of these things were swirling. And so to answer your question, how much of a concern is it? I would say at the point where I sit now, I'm not concerned. I've definitely had moments where I've wavered, you know, going from, you know, a dual income household to a single income household. That provides some level of stress. But I think it plays right along into, I don't know why you asked me to do this. Like, I think there's this thread of trust that we're going to be talking about. It all plays into that.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a level of trust that you need to have that, you know, God's not surprised by these 2 kids. And so I need to trust that like he's going to create a path for us to move forward. That doesn't necessarily always mean comfort, but it means that he's going to provide. And so I trust that. I truly do. We're losing roughly a third of our income with her not, you know, choosing to not work, which is where we've landed. She's not going to work for the time being. And so, sure, as the provider of the household, that provides some extra weight, I guess you could call it. But I wouldn't, I can genuinely look at you and tell you that I don't feel concerned. You know, I think I've watched the Lord provide in a number of different ways over the last really 2 years, where I can sit here in faith and be like, I know he's not going to let us fall, you know? So yeah.
Do you mind telling me about, or telling other people about, in my seat as a financial advisor, what I often see is the decisions that people make around cars and houses put them in a lot of trouble.
Sure.
Or put them in a position that they are more stressed than others. So just kind of tell me, you originally were planning to sell the home that you had, but then you took it off the market for some reason.
Well, yeah. So originally, our 7-week ultrasound, there was 1 baby. So they thought. They saw 1 baby. They're like, your baby looks great. Fast forward about 6 weeks. No, about 4.5 weeks from that point, we did blood work, came back inconclusive. They're like, something's potentially wrong with your baby. And we're like, what the heck? So we go in the next day, ultrasound, they see the second baby, and we find out we're having twins. Like 12 weeks into pregnancy or 11 weeks into pregnancy. So that changed a lot for us. When we found out Tay was pregnant, we're like, okay, now might be a good time to put the house on the market. we were looking at houses. As soon as we found out it was twins, the recognition that we may lose a third of our household income.
Mm.
And so that was the reason. It just didn't financially make sense for us to increase any sort of monthly expense.
Knowing that the goal was to have the
Yeah.
other work from home.
Or just not work at all.
Or sorry, no. Yeah.
Stay at home.
So,
And so, yeah, we pulled it off the market at that
Mm.
point for that reason. To your point, because I don't know, we just don't want to be house poor. We don't want to, you know, yeah, we don't want to put ourselves in a situation. If we went to the bank and asked them for a loan that would increase our mortgage, we could probably get them to say yes. It's not to your point, I think a lot of people can get themselves in troubles because they base decisions a lot of times based off of what they can qualify for.
yeah.
But that doesn't always equate to wisdom, and we just didn't
Yeah.
want to be house poor. So
Ron Blue. Is there a book somewhere? Ron Blue, this guy, Splitting Hairs. He's an author like Dave Ramsey. But he's older. He's maybe in his 80s, and he's worked with families. Like Dave Ramsey creates content
okay,
that's like guidelines for people to follow, but Ron Blue, his company, is kind of like this, where they work directly with families. He says that borrowing debt or debt always mortgages your future. You're always taking a gamble on your future
Sure.
when you use debt, and you just don't know if you'll end up having twins.
right.
So,
Exactly.
and it's just like, it's a nice idea to think that like your life tends to go up in trajectory as time goes on, but you just don't know what obstacles are going to be along the way.
Yeah, I would say the long-term trajectory is generally speaking up and to the left, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have some of these in it.
Yeah.
It's not always like a constant
Yeah.
up, to your
Yeah.
point. So,
And to be able to, I think being able to handle the challenges that will come in life, the downturns, to handle those with joy and see the opportunity in them. Like having debt having debt does not mean you can't handle downswings with joy, but having debt makes it harder. It makes it
Yeah.
harder when you owe other people money to go through hard things that are financial related,
Mhm.
and to see it as an opportunity for, what James 1 says about like struggle refining your faith.
Yeah. And I think it depends on how leveraged you are, how much debt you have. I think if you plan, at least the way that we've done it, is we try and create a lot of margin,
Mm.
In our income versus our debt,
Yeah.
so that if there is a situation where we're like, oh no, we're losing your income because we're having twins,
Yeah.
we feel like we're in a position to where we're not
Mm.
going to drown,
Yeah.
Whereas if you're leveraged so tightly on a month-to-month basis, you're in a position where
Yeah.
if something changes, it can be stressful. And
Yeah. So for the house decision, just to wrap up this thought around the houses, you were planning to sell the house to upgrade,
yes, we wanted more space. Yeah.
and then you actually went from thinking you're only going to have one kid to two kids, and realizing you could actually do it with less space. Like the trade-off
Sure.
is less financial stress with less space,
Yeah.
versus more financial pressure but more space. And you guys chose, let's just kind of live with what you have, or maybe there's a verse that says, "Be content with what you have."
Yeah, totally. I think, and it had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
I think I think there will always be something that we can look at in our lives, particularly in a Western culture, where we can be like, I wish I had more here. I wish I had more here. I wish I had more here. And yeah, we've got, our house is nothing special. It's like 1,500 square feet, 3 bed, 2 bath.
It's in a really nice location.
Yeah. Our location's amazing. We love our location. But and so you can pigeonhole yourself into thinking like, okay, once kid number two comes,
Mhm.
that would be the time. That was just always the mindset. When we have our second kid, that's the time when we'll look for more space, and we'll try and get another bedroom, whatever,
Mhm.
backyard, the whole 9 yards. And so it's hard to break. I don't know, when you have an ideal in your mind, it's
Mhm.
hard to
Yeah.
break
Oh, for sure.
away from that.
Mm.
And um,
Hmm.
but I think that's where I think humility is important, and
That's
I
really
think
good.
living in a context where like you have exposure to need around you, or not around you. I think we're going to the church that we go to that has like a missional arm that they express, has exposed me to cultures that, man, like we're lucky.
Yeah.
Like when you go to Pakistan, when you go to India, and even different parts of the US that I've been to with River House Global, you see need and you come home and you're like, man, I'm really
Yeah.
discontent with my 3-bed, 2-bath,
Mhm.
and think I don't have enough space. You feel silly a little bit,
Hmm.
but I think in the Western
Hmm.
frame of thinking, it's like more is
Hmm.
better. And, you know,
The this is gonna be a pain in the butt for Miles to edit all
what?
this, which is awesome. I like that. But I'm thinking about this is like almost a new way to interpret. Not new, that's not true. It's just it's fresh to me to interpret Jesus's words. That's better. It's more blessed to give than to receive.
Uh-huh.
Every time I've gone on a missions trip anywhere, I have received the
Oh,
most.
absolutely.
And I come home like thinking that everything I have, which is not a lot, is just the best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. Anywhere that I've gone, I've come back feeling more filled than empty. Like I've just poured out, poured out, poured out. Like I've received more.
Yeah.
And to tie it back to the topic, it's like I think it opens your eyes to ways that you can trust God financially because you see how much you have.
Yeah.
Like it puts you in touch with your lack of need
Mm-hmm.
when you see need, which
Mm-hmm.
inherently shows you, man, you've given me everything that I need.
Yeah.
Like you have provided for me,
Mm.
in places where I've chosen to like latch on to poverty mindset get revealed
Yeah.
because you see where you don't actually have need in places where you feel like
Yeah.
does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you've touched real need
Yeah.
when you've been in a brickyard in
Yeah.
Pakistan. Like you've seen genuine need,
Yeah.
and you come home and you're like, places where I thought were needs for me,
Yeah.
are really just luxuries where I've been blessed,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Yeah.
I don't know, to tie it back in, it's like doing stuff like that helps you get in touch with places where,
Mhm.
you can really trust because you have been
Yeah.
provided for.
Mm. I think the house purchase for me is an area I don't know how to encourage people to make better decisions yet, but that's an area where it's people put themselves in a position they don't see progress, and it's they get a 30-year and they change their house over every 5 years, and so there's just a lack of paying down the mortgage. So that's why I like talking about
Sure.
how do we find contentment with in the place that we live, knowing that that is a source of financial challenge that people have.
Mhm.
And the other one is a car. Do you mind just kind of walking us through like
Yeah.
how do you guys made the change for a car and if you guys paid cash or borrowed
Yeah.
from it?
Yeah. So we realized we needed to get a car that could fit 3 car seats that my wife could drive. So um, I currently owe on my truck, and we did not owe on Taylor's CRV. And so I was not willing to take, I was not willing to have another car payment. Um, I mean, mostly because to go back to like the house decision and the decision not to sell, like increasing any sort of monthly expense just wasn't something we made. There was like a hard line in the sand. Like
Mm-hmm.
it just doesn't make sense as we're about to lose income. So I wanted to pay cash for whatever my wife's car was worth, and then whatever cash I needed to put on top of it. We kind of played with, I chatted with you quite a bit. We played with the idea of something older that would cut into our savings less, or something a little bit newer that, in my mind, we could drive a lot longer. That was lower miles. We ended up going with the latter. So we got a 2018 Honda Odyssey.
And my feedback to you was, because you were asking me,
Uh-huh.
and I appreciated it a lot that you were asking me
Yeah.
for feedback. My feedback to you was, because you had cash saved, was for you and Taylor. What was my feedback to you? And did you apply, I guess?
Yeah, it was.
And you better be kind, because maybe somebody actually watches this.
Listen, we can differ a lot in the way that we think, I think, which is why I asked you, because I think that it's good for me to, that to me is financial literacy, is like surrounding yourself with people that think differently than you about finances. Because you can't, this is a tangent, but you can't like fix a broken way of thinking with the same brain, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think inviting people in that think differently than you it's a way that formulates growth.
So to your point, when you said like it's hard to break the ideal that you have, do you think one of the ways to do that is surrounding yourself?
Correct. Find someone. I've watched you steward finances over the last 7 years diligently, and in a different way than I probably would, and so when I was thinking about a financial decision, you were someone that I wanted to, there's a couple of people in my life that I bring into financial decisions. You, my cousin, who, just thinks all three of us probably have just different nuances to the way that we think. So anyway, the van, you're probably going to need to help me remember the exact questions that you prompted me with, but it was like, it had a lot to do with priorities, like where are the priorities?
What were like what did you need out of the van? It was, you had like, it had to fit.
Yeah. What were the lists of like non-negotiables versus like desires?
And so, I feel like we could spend too much time going through that. But I wanted to just highlight that I was hoping that what you would do is talk to Taylor and confirm what's the amount that you guys wanted to have in your emergency fund, because you did have a good amount of savings, and you believed that your savings was more than what you needed for emergency fund.
Yeah.
And I just wanted you and Taylor to like identify the number and both agree, yes, whatever we used to buy the Honda in cash, to not have a payment on that, it won't eat into our defined amount for the emergency fund.
Right. Yeah. And so we chatted about it and prayed about it. And initially, I had like agreed upon the purchase of the vehicle and didn't feel like, I felt like I was rushing into something. And so I wanted to slow down. I think fear of missing out is quick to jump in, because it's like, what if someone buys the car, or you just miss out on the opportunity. And so it tends to fuel our thinking and our decision making, not just me, but anyone.
That's so true.
And so I felt like the need to like press pause, understand that if the van sold in the 48 hours I had allotted for myself to really think about the decision, then it just wasn't the car for me. And so I did, and I let him know, like, I can't come and get it. I need to think about it a little longer. And
I think that's a great example of like trusting in God's provision, is like praying about it and not rushing to get stuff done, and letting God, like, God can, if he could speak the world into existence, he probably can find you a car. Even if you, like, even if that was the car you were supposed to have, if you delayed as an act of faith, he can find you
Yeah.
another car.
And just practically speaking, I think with cars in particular, like there's always more cars. You know, I
Because
think
you worked in the car.
I did. I sold cars for a couple of years, and you know, I think people find something that's shiny and they fall in love with it, and it's like there's a lack of recognition that even if it's used, it's like someone's going to trade in another car next week or 2 weeks later or a month later. It's like other cars. There's always more cars.
Yeah.
You know, and so
Hmm.
as much as I liked the van that we did eventually end up purchasing,
It's a pretty car.
yeah, it's great. It's
Yeah.
great. My wife loves it. I think it's great.
Hmm.
We'll, you know, grow our family in it for probably, hopefully 10 to 12 years, you know.
So I think the substance, at least, so what I want what I want to think about is you are building your family in the process of like adding two, like souls that will be eternal.
Mhm.
You added two souls that are going to be eternal. In the process of doing that, you've sacrificed some, as Miles would say, earthly junk. It's like, okay, like, so it's just something to think about, like,
Yeah.
what actually, what's
Yeah.
building up, as Jesus says, treasures in heaven. What does that mean?
Totally.
We should be, maybe the word greedy is not right, but like, we should want to build up treasure.
Sure.
But Jesus just says, build it up in heaven.
Right.
So, I asked you a question the other day, and this is why we are doing this interview. I asked you, where do you think the biggest challenge or opportunity is within your own household finances?
Yeah. I think I'll preface my answer by saying I think that there's always room for growth, but I think that I've done a decent job being financially literate and making financially smart decisions. Decent. You know, I think that I can always be better. But I think discipline would be my answer. I think what I have done, I struggled with the poverty mindset for a while, thinking that there was always I needed more, I need to work for more, I needed to gain more. And I think what that created is like a control problem. And what I found is the closer that I looked at my finances with a microscope, the more stressed I got. And so I actually felt like I got invited into a season to kind of pump the brakes, not pay attention as close. And again, the reason I preface this whole answer by saying I feel like I have financial literacy is I wasn't operating in the red. You know what I mean? I wasn't, right, that's the right color.
Right, is when you're spending more than
Yeah.
you make. Yeah.
I was and I knew that. And so I knew that I could pump the brakes on like over analyzing my financial decisions without knowing I was going to be like plummeting my family into like a financial crisis, if that makes sense. But the more that I like paid attention, the closer I paid attention, the more control I felt like I needed.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It was like a positive feedback loop that like pushed, but in a negative sense, if that makes sense. The more I paid attention, the more stressed I got actually about my finances. And it was just it was a poverty mindset, you know, the more, I just felt like I needed more. I felt like there was lack, you know. Really, I think it's one of the main ways that I feel like the enemy attacks the Western culture is through materialism, you know. And so I saw the way that I was falling victim to that. And so I realized I needed to just take a deep breath and just trust that like I was going to have enough. I wasn't going to run out. I wasn't, you know, all the things. I trust ultimately that God was going to provide for me and Taylor what we needed, you know, and he has in numerous ways. What that can produce, and the reason, to go back to your original question, the reason that I say the main area that we could grow, or whatever the question was, it is discipline, is because now I feel like there's probably some sort of middle ground between overanalyzing and not paying attention at all. where there is a budget in there. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? And so, um, I still don't think that we have been financially illiterate to the,
Yeah.
but I think that there are ways that we could be a little bit more aware of where we're spending to save a little bit more than we are.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So that's
Yeah.
the reason why I say discipline.
Yeah. That makes sense. So from doing this, so for some context, for doing this 12 years, I would say there's people in two camps. They either spend more than they make. So a budget is scary because they don't want to be faced with the reality that they're over consuming.
Yeah.
Or they spend more than they make more than they spend. So the need for a budget, there's no need
Sure.
to budget. So most people will say that a budget would be helpful for them, and almost no one practices some type of monthly budget. So two people, I tend to find that most of the people I talk to that are struggling to budget fall in they have more money coming in than they're spending. So why should I budget every month?
Yeah, that would be us.
And I would think that the opportunity there, though, I actually can throw myself in the same group as you, where it's if I overanalyze all of my spending, I will grasp for control.
Stresses me out.
So because I also will approach reviewing my spending as a grasp of control, the mindset that I know I need to come to the table with budgeting with is not that I want to necessarily save more or I think it's more about I want to redeem the money that I'm wasting every month. And it's like going to the gym. If I have fat on my body. At one point I weighed 200 pounds. I'm 5'7". I shouldn't weigh 200 pounds.
It's still hard for me to believe it.
So
I also don't think you're 5'7".
okay, well, both of those things are true. But it would be stupid for me to think I'm gonna make it to the gym one day and I'm going to figure out how to get all the fat off my body.
Sure.
It's like it is going to be
time.
a long process for me to learn how to have healthy habits around eating and exercise. In the same way with money, I have to have that same approach that I'm not trying to fix everything right now. It's just I want to figure out what's the biggest challenge this month or that I've felt over the last year, and I just want to solve for one thing at a time.
Yeah, that's really good.
So I think that would
be the pressure off,
I think it should. The hope would be that it inspires vision for what you and Taylor, like you guys getting together to go through some type of budget process. The point is that you guys are growing in confidence as months go on, that your resources are being used for what you believe God has called you to use it for.
That's good.
But tell me, because we all have our own kind of sore spots around money when we see our spouse spending, and it can rub us a certain way.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you can bring up what are some sore spots?
That's a good question. Honestly, Taylor is pretty good. There's one sore spot I can think of, and it's how much it costs for girls to get their hair done. It drives me crazy.
Okay.
But genuinely, she is not really an overspender. She's not super, I don't know. Yeah, our financial dance has not, honestly, it has not been something that has created a ton of tension in our marriage, which I don't know how unique that is, but I think that she has been very honoring in financial decision making and really deferring, to me when it comes to large decisions. And it's been I don't make decisions in isolation. you know, she's aware of every decision that we're making. But I would say that she defers to me in many ways when it comes to big financial decisions. But I want to make sure that she's included and aware and can weigh in, and so I don't say that in like it's not like an authoritative type dynamic at all. But it's not something that we've experienced a ton of tension in.
What I'm curious,
if you wanted to get her hair done once a month, we might.
Yeah, it's for me. It is also hard to think about how much it costs to get somebody's hair done. But also,
I imagine.
I did my hair for you today.
Did you?
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Yes, it was yesterday. Is that good enough?
No.
It cost me like, I don't know, $100.
Ryan's got a great head when it's freshly shaved, and it's rarely freshly shaved.
It probably costs me $50 a year maximum on the equipment to shave.
Razors?
Yeah, exactly. So it is a little bit hard, but it's also not fair to like compare what Rachel needs to what I spend, because she has a beautiful head of hair, and so does Taylor.
It's not, like it's probably more a me thing. I just get taken back.
So, what about where do you? So we know a general sore spot that you have.
I love you, Taylor. What probably never watch this, but
what about for your own, like when you observe your own habits? What's like a sore spot or inconsistency that you feel like, oh, I gotta solve for this?
Yeah, mine is probably pretty typical. It's like I probably eat out more than I need to. I would say that's probably an area Taylor and I could grow in. But I would say particularly for me, like not being diligent enough to bring food to work, I would say cost us a fair amount of money because I'm purchasing food. Speaking of which, I have no lunch today, so I'll be purchasing. But yeah, I would say that's the first one that pops into my mind, is like I could be more diligent on a weekly basis to save money in that regard.
Could I offer some food for thoughts just on those two things, based off of my my experience budgeting? If I was thrown in your shoes, what I would do and I would probably do this over the next 3 months to 12 months, is I would just try to solve for those two things. I would ask Taylor, how much and how often are your hair things? Like, I want to
Let me be clear, she's already done that.
Okay.
She's like, okay, I'll do my hair. Typically I think, I don't know what's normal, but I think she liked to get her hair done like once a quarter. And she's like, I'll do it twice a year.
I also think you could intentionally throw it in a budget, and it would be a reminder for Taylor to, like, it would help you release control.
Sure.
Because I'm writing this down as an act of faith. Like, for whatever reason, I'm struggling agreeing that this is as valuable as it should be. If I'm in your shoes, I probably would be trying to, like, she sacrificed that 2 months or 2 times a year, I probably would be trying to shoot for 3 times. For me, knowing that I need to just release control.
Sure.
I'm not saying you need to do that, but it's just, that's the mindset I think why the monthly budget matters. It's because in faith, you can put in the things that you should be preparing for, that you're struggling with valuing, that your spouse values. And if it makes logical sense, like somebody's hair, which makes logical sense versus like if you're spending $1,500 a month on Amazon, that doesn't make logical sense to me. But the point is not that you're doing what I'm telling you to do. It's just more, how do you use like the challenges you're having and the regular spent cash flow that you guys have, and how you're spending the cash flow. How do you use those challenges as opportunities to build your relationship with each other? So, and the thought behind this is,
imagine how much stuff you could get for $1,500 a month on Amazon.
When you have money, a principle my dad taught me young is, if you have the money, you will spend it. If you don't throw it in the right category, it will get spent. So if you have it, you'll spend it.
And I think that's the trap I can fall into by paying less attention. Like, that's where discipline, I think, could help us, is, because there is money, we will probably tend to spend more, because there's not a deficit, you know?
So let me just walk you through this, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I'll give you one. I have multiple copies, but this is what I'm trying to invite you to, and Miles too. Is I don't know that we'll necessarily do this, but I think it won't be every time, but at least the first time, it's gonna be like breaking out and like if somebody already has a vision for their family that's defined, it's still like revisiting it with their spouse. Most companies that are publicly traded, I think actually every company that's publicly traded, but for compliance reasons, I'll say most, has a vision. Companies have a vision. How many people walk around without like a defined vision for their life that they think that God's told them to do? And Proverbs 29:18 says, without vision, people cast off restraint. And it still makes me laugh because that's exactly what's happening with our finances. We don't have vision, so we cast off restraint and we say, who cares? Like, I can, the bank tells me I can afford this car loan. The bank tells me I can sell this house. So who cares? I'll do it. So I think the first step, like this whole process has almost nothing to do with reflecting on how you're spending money right now. The first thing is just defining what you believe God's vision is for your family. And then for you to think through what are the long-term goals that you guys have financially that supports this vision. And then what are the short-term goals? Long-term and short-term goals aren't defined for a reason, but generally long-term goals are going to be a decade or more, and short-term are going to be in the next 10 years, but they're not defined for a reason. And then step 4 is, if you could start from scratch, how would you ideally spend the money you're making? And just put on a piece of paper. Don't use an Excel spreadsheet. Like, make it simple enough that you could put on a piece of paper. And then this is where like you get faced with a little bit of resistance, is you like look at how you spent your money with, if you already have a budget, or you look at last month's spending, and then you can throw what reality is against your ideals. Sure. And then you just say, okay, God, like what do you have me to do in light of this? So, and it's, in my opinion, it's like kind of how we talked through, like you gave me 2 sore spots, your own sore spot, the sore spot for Taylor, and it's like, okay, those are things that you could probably solve for and spend 3 months to a year feeling like really good about how you're spending on going out to eat and beauty stuff for Taylor. But I think it's got to start with, the only way that you'll continue to do something is if there's a vision that you feel like God's trying to accomplish something through.
Makes sense.
Your money. So I'm curious on like just, I don't know, your feedback and thoughts around it.
I think it's good. I think for me personally, I think the Lord's done a deep work in me to where I'm to the point now where I think I could handle mentally doing an exercise like this. Whereas I think before, this would stress me out because it would confront me with what I don't have versus what I do have, you know? And so, yeah, I think it's good. I definitely think it's something that I would like to do.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you need to go ahead and try to apply these steps, but I do think at least at a minimum, just considering that proverb.
Yeah, having some sort of vision, I think it's good. You know?
Like, to let you know, because the original question you brought up is, how do you manage, I don't think you've said it like this today, but how do you manage trusting God while doing a budget? Because when you're budgeting, there is this grasp of control that I think most men have. And it reminds me of another Proverbs, I don't know the location, but it says, a horse is made ready for battle. Do you know the second half?
No.
A horse is made ready for battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord. So it's like, we make our horses ready for battle, we do our part, and then like let go,
Yeah.
So somehow we have to try to do both.
Yeah. No, you're entirely correct. Because I think it's fundamentally important to to trust, to have a deep trust.
Yeah.
In God as your provider. So what does that look like? But I think that it's also important to practically, I think part of this can be trusting because it can identify what are those long-term goals that don't feel attainable,
Yeah.
that don't feel reachable within,
Mhm.
just on my own strength,
Yeah.
and so it can provide language and structure to what you're trusting God for,
Mhm.
Yep. Which I think is awesome.
Yep. I talked to a client yesterday and I asked them what their vision was. And they said, we want to love God. No, we want to faithfully serve God and love others. And I thought, that's a perfect family vision. Like, it has scripture written all over it.
Right.
First and Second James talks about, not First and Second James, sorry, First and Second John. It's like, don't say you love me and not love other people.
Right.
It's like, so there's that. Anyways, I think that is probably the most succinct vision that could apply to most people if we want to get the most out of life and do what Jesus tells us to do, which is store up treasures in heaven and not on earth. Because I think relationships are the asset in heaven. I'm guessing. I think it's relationship with other people. Yeah. I don't think you can bring gold to heaven.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Maybe Bitcoin, though.
Maybe.
Some type of cryptocurrency.
Maybe. I mean, my answer would probably be my daughter. Like the time you invest in parenting and the fruit that you see, just in time as you. Yeah. So I would say that the investment would be time, and it would be spent with, you could say family, but specifically, like her young mind, and the formation that you see even in the first year and a half of life, as like their brains wake up. It's like you see dividends.
Yeah, I think that's good. As Miles asked that question, I was like, I don't really know, but I think I'd piggyback off of that and say, like, having a daughter, thinking about, this creative project that Miles and I are doing. I've tried to do, like, write blogs, and I have written blogs pretty consistently the last 5 years, but it's like so burdensome to try to sit down and create something. But it wasn't very burdensome to create a human being.
Yeah, totally.
And it's like, wow, like I remember when we first brought Ariana home and thinking, this is definitely the most substantial thing that I've ever created. And it's like my actual part to play in this is very unsubstantial.
That's not true. It feels that way early, but that's not true.
But if you do think about it, like you can create, like you can write a book, you can put a lot of effort into like creating something that at the end of the day it's not eternal. And then how easy God made creating something that is eternal. Like that's just
wild.
Yeah.
Wild. What was the time frame? Was it in the last year? Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would expand that to like people, like relational equity. I would just say with friends, with you guys, with, Becca, Pedro, Schiff and Dom, Chad.
Who?
I know. I should have.
We'll have to send this to them.
And then beyond that, like Riley, Sammy, Jordan, Jackie, Jay, Carrie, Jake, Britton, John, that would be like
just investing in your community.
And then the Hepworths and the Littles, for us, like we've really invested in that community. And yeah, I don't know. You see flourishment and dividends when you're on stage with one another and you just have relational equity with one another, when you're in the office with one another. And I don't know. I would say that, just relational time with people.
How do you process like, because this is
go ahead. Sorry.
This is something that I think through is, I think it is good to like invest in like fellowship relationships. And I think about like the scriptural encouragement to also take care of orphans, widows, poor. How do you balance like cultivating like pure like relationships, like basically like being the church,
Yeah.
and then also doing what Jesus told us
It's
to
a
do
good
too?
question. I don't know. I mean, how do I balance that? Probably not. It's probably not balanced enough, if I'm being honest. Um, particularly in the early stages of being a parent, it feels like time is a precious commodity, and there's probably not enough of it given to that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say for me, my balance has been like missional. Like when I've been able to go out, I've been able to do that at least once a year.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh yeah, because you're. I mean, so how you're practicing it is you're doing the mission trips,
yeah,
the river
yeah.
house stuff.
So how do I balance it? I don't know that I have a good answer to that, to be honest.
Is that what compels you to do the mission trips, or is there?
100%. Yeah.
Okay. Hmm.
It, I shouldn't answer so definitively. Like I know there's other things I get out of it for sure.
Because
Like
you're doing it with your friends too.
doing it with friends, I know that I get a lot of times more than I give. But I also know that we're called to serve,
Mm-hmm.
the underprivileged, the orphans, the widows,
Yeah.
and so yeah,
Yeah, I was reading in Proverbs today. It was blessed is he who gives to the poor or is
yeah.
generous to the poor. And so I do think, and then there's another Proverbs that says like,
That's been another thing that we've tried to do well over the last year is be generous.
yeah,
Find different ways to be generous, to give.
yeah. And I guess why I bring that up is that like I know that when I've gone on mission trips, I felt like I've got the most out of it.
Mhm.
But I think that's Jesus says it's better to give than to receive. So in the giving and the serving, when you do it because it's what God's told you to do, he's not gonna let that go to waste.
Yeah,
Like
sure,
he's going to overflow your cup when
sure.
you're doing it because he told you to do it, not
Yeah,
because I told you to do it or Jordan told you to do it. Yeah, I think about my favorite investments recently that are not monetary or required money that don't get a monetary return back would be the espresso machine I have at home because I've been able to make coffee for a bunch of people. And that was an impulse buy for sure. That was an impulse buy. But I didn't realize that that was going to be like such a nice avenue to invite people over and tell
yeah,
them I can make coffee for them. Um, and then I even like doing like, trying to get a group together to do a budget or doing pure desires with church or financial peace. It's like to use people's challenges to build relationships with them.
it's good.
Like, I think that's so fun. So, but
So, life is primarily composed of three different resources: time, money, and health.
Okay.
So, at any point in life, you're basically only rich in two of those: time, money, and health. So, for example, when you're young, you're rich in time and health, but not money.
Sure.
So, right now in life, which two are you rich in, and what are you doing to make the most out of this season? Time, money, and health.
I would say personally, probably, I don't know, health for sure. I would say rich in health. Um, and honestly, I don't know. I don't feel like I have a huge deficit in time, but I would probably say money and health, you know? Not because Taylor and I really don't have like a ton of excess, honestly. Um, but I've been discipled in the past 3 years to be content with needs being met, and like
Mhm.
more than our needs are being met, and so that's why I would say money. money and time. Money and health. But I don't know. I feel like the reason I'm teetering is because I know that my time is going to be under a boa constrictor over the next 3 to 6 weeks as we bring 2 lives into the world.
Yeah.
And so there's part of me that wants to say time and health.
Yeah.
Because I know that things are laxed and leisurely comparatively right now. So what are we doing to take care of it? We're really like, yeah, I'm going to go with time and health.
That those are where you're strong.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are we doing to take advantage of it? We're having a lot of like relaxed time with each other at home. We're really trying to soak up like time with Ari at home right now because we know that she's going to be an only child for a matter of weeks. And so we're not going to get that time back. And so really just trying to enjoy it, even when it feels like we're just having to meet needs and doing stuff like that. Trying to spend time with Tay and I in the evenings, or like trying to have grandma babysit. Like we had her mom babysit last night, mom and sister, while we just went up to a movie and dinner. And so doing stuff like that, because that'll be more of a precious commodity in the coming weeks. So I would say that's what we're trying to do to take advantage of the time and health, trying to move our bodies, go to the park, walk, just do stuff that, move, causes us to move. Tay's pretty pregnant at this point, so bike rides aren't really happening at this point.
What's your favorite way to exercise together when she's not pregnant?
Really, it's nothing intense. It's probably like just going out and walking, finding the green belt somewhere, and going on a couple 2-3 mile walk, just getting steps in.
Yeah. That's impressive. I know whenever I have dated people, I've always enjoyed walks, but it's just like when relationships mature, I just don't like walking as much.
It's so good for you, man. It's like nature's EMDR, like it is, it literally is. And so I have found a lot of fruit in the last year. I injured my back a year and a half ago now. And stretching and walking is really what healed it. So I don't know. I've just found a lot of joy in it. So
I hope skateboarding is the equivalent.
No.
It's not?
No.
Oh, dang it.
You skateboard?
I mean, if I'm going to go somewhere without engine getting me there.
Lies in one interview.
What are you talking about?
You're not 5'7" and you don't skateboard.
You think I'm shorter than 5'7"? Oh my gosh. Ouch. It's messed up. I'm definitely not shorter than 5'7".
What are your resources, Ryan?
Yeah.
That I don't feel overly rich in I think where I feel the richest right now is in relationship, which is not one of those defined resources.
Curveball.
I feel like time, health, and money, all of those are healthy right now, but none of them feel like they're just exuding, like it's wildly overflowing. So
where would you say you're the richest, though? If you
it's probably with money, because it does feel like I'm not really having a fight for money stuff. If I'm fighting for anything, it's to be at home at a reasonable time, spend time with my family, and to go to the gym and get exercise. So those are the things that I'm not worried about making more money. It's I need to go to the gym. I need to spend time with people that I love. So I guess that's, as a result, you can deduce that. Deduce? I think that's the right word.
I think so.
At least conclude that, okay, money, I guess, is the part where I feel like I'm doing okay in. So
nice.
And that's from 13 years of budgeting, finding one job that I like that had potential to increase in income. But it's like, I think the biggest part of why I don't feel financially stressed is I feel like I have a good understanding of what I spend, what I need, and what I like. And that amount is very healthy in relation to the income.
Sure.
So, but I still get stressed, like especially knowing that I've got people I'm trying to pay. There's like a little bit of more pressure where it's like, okay, I gotta make sure. I can't make sure of anything, but I gotta do my part to secure the longevity of it.
Yeah.
Or secure, I can't do that either, but you know. Anyways, thank you so much for coming and chatting. Thanks for watching this.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, bro. I'm glad that you
Yeah.
were willing to chat.